Happy Football Friday, everyone. It's great to be back. Great to have two shows a week back.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's good to be back here on a Friday. Not that much news, so we'll fly through that relatively quickly. Have some big stuff to talk about there, but then we'll get into the AFC South season preview and finish up with the American Athletic Conference preview. Next Friday is going to be a little bit longer. We might not do a NFL season preview because we'll have another week until the season starts, or ish, kind of. I gotta check the schedule, but
yeah,
make a college preview next Friday before the first games on August 27th. But let's get into. We had a game last night. One preseason game, week 2, kicking off. Bears, Seahawks. It was a horrible game. It was so bad. I don't know if you watched it or not.
I did not tune in for this one. Kind of bummed I did. I honestly just forgot about it. I had a bachelor parties yesterday on a Thursday. Don't ask me why. So just forgot about it. Didn't get to see Fields play. But yeah, I heard it was rough because Locke didn't even play, right?
Yeah, Drew Lock. I had this in the general news section there. Drew Lock, he tested positive for COVID on Wednesday, I think it was. And yeah, he did not play in this game. So Gino played the entire first half, and he looked bad, but a majority of the time it wasn't his fault. There were multiple drops by his receivers. I mean, I'd have to check. I'm gonna check the penalties because it feels like the Seahawks had to have had at least somewhere like 15 penalties in the game. I think it was very bad. Yeah, it was close. 13 penalties for 92 yards.
That's not ideal ever.
Yeah. And one of the biggest issues, first round tackle Charles Cross, he had probably about 5 penalties.
Jesus.
2 holding, I think 2 false starts, and I think he had 1 hands to the face, or maybe it just had 3 false starts instead. But yeah, it was not a good game from Charles Cross at all. He struggled against Robert Quinn on the left side there. And that's why Gino struggled, because they were in 3rd and long all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, his receivers weren't helping him out either. But yeah, it was 24-0 early in the 3rd quarter, I think. And then Jacob Eason finally got him on the board. Eason played the whole second half, getting all 11 points there. But one bright spot for Seattle, though, their running game did look very good. Travis Homer was good there. He was leading rusher in the game, 5 carries, 44 yards. DJ Dallas was good out of the backfield. The Ken Walker didn't play. Rashad Penny didn't play. But yeah, Homer, not Holmes. Homer looked good in this game. Yeah, Fields, the starters, only played 1 series. Fields drove him down, got a field goal. Or no, I get a field goal or a touchdown. Can't remember. Field goal. Yeah, they got a field goal. So yeah, Fields still hasn't done anything to sway my mind in his favor. So
yeah, I saw a text thread or a tweet thread on Twitter that said that his performance in the second game wasn't as good as kind of the first one. That he missed a few reads, missed a few open receivers. Yeah, I mean, like I said in Monday's show, it's still kind of just TBD on like all these young guys. Year 2 is going to be huge for Fields. And that's really when you're going to see like, okay, year 2 is really where you kind of like, okay, is this guy it? Like, can he be it? And in terms of that, like all you really need to see is like progression. Like as long as Justin Fields is better than his 7-10 split of touchdown interception that he was last year, like it'll be a win for the Bears and for Justin Fields. But yeah, we'll see. And in terms of the Seahawks, like I saw a tweet, someone was like, are we really just going to allow the Seahawks to like get away with starting Geno Smith for 17 games? Like it's one of the most modern instances of like tanking that like I can remember.
Yeah. I mean,
I can't fault them for it. That's for sure.
I think they're going to be okay. They're not going to, I don't think they're going to be like a complete dumpster fire because they do have some talent, especially when you have your actual starters on the field. Now, DK and Tyler Lockett did play in this game. They weren't expected to, but they both did play. I don't think they did much because they're not on this list, obviously, but yeah, but I mean, like when he gets Rashad Penny back, when he gets Ken Walker back,
yeah,
top 2 running backs will help a lot. But there's obviously going to be growing pains. Geno's probably going to get frustrated. They're starting rookie offensive tackles, and Charles Cross at left and Abraham Lucas at right. So that's going to be a tough time. And I think the defense actually is going to be better than people think. They do have some guys there, Jordan Brooks. The rookie corners last night looked great. Tariq Woolen and Kobe Bryant, they looked very good. I remember Bryant breaking up a pass, a fade into the end zone. Woolen had a couple deflections, I think, pass breakups. So, one last thing I'll say, I need to find out where to bet this prop. Where can I bet the quarterback to be the most sacked quarterback in the league? Because I would love to place a bet on Justin Fields being the sacked quarterback in the league. He was running. He only played that one series, running for his life every single passing play. I mean, it was just a jailbreak a lot of the times.
Yeah, and I mean, he already gets kind of ragged on for holding the ball too long. He quite literally cannot do that. Like if he wants to like have a healthy season. So yeah, I'm with you there. Like if you can find that prop bet, like hit it because
I watched the one play. Khalil Herbert was supposed to chip the linebacker before going out on a route. Completely missed him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Penny Hart was your leading receiver in the game. 2 receptions, 46 yards. One of those was a beautiful ball down the sideline from Geno. And then Elijah Hicks, rookie safety out of Cal. 5 tackles, 4 solos. He had a 0-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. That was not a touchdown. They didn't even review it. I was like, why are you not? I understand it's preseason, but like the refs are in preseason too. You gotta practice.
Yeah.
I thought he was clearly touched because it was off a muff punt, right? And then the Bears guys were scrambling to the ball, and the ball inadvertently got moved towards the goal line. And Hicks recovered the ball, but I don't know. I thought the replays looked like he was clearly touched with the ball still outside the goal line.
Uh-huh.
but they didn't even review it. I was like, what are you doing?
Well, wait, aren't they supposed to view all touchdowns too?
I guess they
anyways?
reviewed it, but they didn't stop play.
Okay.
Which I was surprised that they didn't even stop play and take a second look at it.
Mm.
I don't know how they saw a touchdown, but I didn't. So, anyways, that's the defensive player of the game because he scored a touchdown on special teams. But all right, and I know there were a lot of people happy, mad about this game. The over-under ended up being 38.5. So the under-bettors got it by the hook. The over-bettors lost it by the hook. Yeah. It's crazy.
Just be careful.
For those Vegas conspiracy theorists out there.
Yep.
Here you go. All right, NFL news. We had a trade. Actually, let me go back here. NCAA news. I forgot. So, the College Football Playoff Board of Directors. There's 11 of them on that board. This is the first inkling we've heard that they're discussing a potential break from the NCAA. They're going to talk about how college football is governed. And like I said, that's pretty much they're talking about going out on their own. So,
yeah, I think honestly at this point, if I had to guess, I'd say it's like inevitable. Like you're kind of just seeing the build up, the progression. Now the fact that they're just like openly talking about it, and it's not like, like reports, it's like reported. It's like they're actually meeting to openly discuss this. I think eventually you're going to see it.
Yeah, I think it's everyone's been talking about it for like I don't know. I think probably since I've been in college, maybe in 2014. But I think at this point, because they're just starting to talk about it, I think what a good date would be 2025. College football playoff contract or format contract. I don't know whatever it is. Contract, I guess. That deal ends in 2025. So I think 2026 would be the 2025 football, or no, 2026 season would be a good point to look at of possibly being the first season away from the NCAA. I don't know if that's what they're actually talking about, but that's just my opinion on it. Big Ten getting big money. The Big Ten signed a 7-year, $7 billion with the B media rights deal. Fox, CBS, NBC, all included. They are moving away from ESPN. The deal is going to begin next year, July 1st, 2023. And I had a bunch of stuff on here that I screenshotted from the article on ESPN. But yeah, so the first thing here, the Big Ten, each school is going to get between $80 to $100 million a year over this 7-year deal. And then, which is up from 54.3 million, which was the last fiscal year that they not impacted by coronavirus. So 19 to 20.
And this is just the media rights. This is not included all the other revenue. that they make.
Yeah, so all three networks are going to carry Big Ten championship games. Fox is going to broadcast it in 23, 25, 27, and 29, in addition to this year's game, 22. CBS is going to have it in 24 and 28. NBC will have it in 26. It's interesting. They made it a point, Commissioner Kevin Warren made it a point of emphasis when doing this to have specific time slots. That's why he included he wanted to add CBS and NBC, because how it's going to work is they're going to keep Fox, big noon kickoff. That's Big Ten every Saturday on Fox at noon Eastern. We got to get up early here, 11 a.m.
Yep.
Everyone's got to watch the Badgers apparently.
Yep. Yes, sir.
But that'll stay at noon. And then the 3:30 Eastern slot, currently on CBS, currently taken by the SEC, will go to the Big Ten now, starting in 23, because SEC is moving to ESPN in 2023. And then NBC is going to broadcast primetime games every Saturday for the Big Ten. But they're going to keep Notre Dame is NBC. I don't know what I don't know when the deal that Notre Dame has ends with NBC, but oh no, so I was wrong on the CBS. CBS, their deal ends in 23. So 2024 is when we'll start seeing Big Ten in that SEC slot on CBS. Or no, they're not going to even have any games on CBS until 2024. So, yeah. And the NBC primetime games will be called Big Ten Saturday Night. Very, very original.
Love it. I love it.
And what makes me mad, the one thing that makes me mad about this deal, they will also be broadcasting games on friggin' Peacock.
There you go.
I can't. I hate streaming.
They got to get you somehow, man.
So much I hate streaming. Big Ten Network will continue to have games as well, up to 50 per year from 24 to 29, as well as men's and women's basketball and Olympic sports. The Big Ten is also going to add a second Black Friday game, Black Friday football game, which on CBS, which Iowa and Nebraska. I didn't know this, that Iowa and Nebraska usually played on Black Friday on Fox. Never knew that. Never knew that was a tradition.
I honestly didn't either.
Fox is going to carry 24 to 32 games a season, NBC 14 to 16 games, and then 8 games on Peacock. And then in 2024, CBS is going to carry 14 to 15 games.
Yeah, that feels like a new tradition they're trying to push. It's like, oh yeah, they've always done this since the dawn of football. It's been Nebraska and Iowa in the Black Friday game.
But now they're going to have 2 games on Black Friday. Yeah. So that was one of the biggest things in college football this week. Massive deal. And now it's like, does the Big Ten now? We knew it was like SEC versus Big Ten. Like that was going to be the eventual clash.
Mm-hmm.
But the SEC already did its deal with CBS or with ESPN. So now, do we think the Big Ten has the upper hand, getting more money than the SEC? They're already going to have. Does the SEC already have 16 teams? I can't remember.
I think not until Oklahoma and Texas officially join, right?
Okay, yeah. So they'll each have 16 once
when they
Texas go to the SEC and USC, UCLA go to Big Ten. But yeah, it's gonna be monsters. Titans versus each other.
Yeah. And it's pretty I don't know. I mean, the SEC has always been kind of like the Death Star of college football, and it still is, like, as of now. But like, I think the additions of USC and UCLA, potentially more, as they're in talks with other teams, is huge for the Big Ten, and it was really needed, I think, to bring more competition in. I think USC is going to be a really good program here, really fast with Lincoln Riley. It's just too fertile of a recruiting ground, and he's just too good of a proven talent at developing offensive weapons that he's going to be able to just eat up that SoCal market.
Yeah.
But looking at this TV rights deal, like, I just laughed because, like, we talked about, like, the travel aspect of it when they added USC and UCLA, and it's for sure going to matter in terms of, like, the physical play on the field and stuff. But, like, I remember hearing people say, like, well, how's Rutgers going to, like, afford this? Like, dude, as long as they're in the Big Ten, they're set. Like, you do not have to worry about the money train. They're going to be just fine.
Yeah. Now they definitely are. Gonna be interesting. They said they're gonna talk amongst the networks. Are gonna talk amongst themselves to see how they're gonna select games for what slots. When we come into 2024, when the USC UCLA is expected to come in, I mean, USC home game on Fox Big Noon Kickoff, 8 a.m. local time.
Bright and early.
I mean, the kids won't be going to sleep on Friday night. They'll just keep the party going until the game starts at 8.
You either don't go partying or you party all night into the morning and watch the kickoff at 8.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how they're gonna get fans in the stadium at 8 a.m. But all right, we'll have to wait and see when we're out of here that season.
Yep.
But anyways, that's the NCAA news. We had a trade. We did have one trade this week. The Titans getting some defensive help. DB Tyree Gillespie goes to Tennessee. The Raiders get a 2024 conditional 7th round selection back. Interesting. Tyree Gillespie was a 2021 4th round selection for Vegas. But as we know, new regime. They're like, we didn't draft you, bro. I mean, that's what we heard. That we've been hearing that with the Bears too, and Tevin Jenkins. So
yeah,
he was a 2nd round pick.
Yeah, that one's weird to me. That one's just weird to me. Like, I don't get that.
Yeah.
I mean, this doesn't make sense. Well, I mean, he's a 4th rounder, and, like, we're far enough along in camp to where it's like, okay, like, it's not as significant of an investment. Like, we don't think he's going to fit our style of play. Let's just try and get something for him. But, like, Tevin Jenkins, like, that's, even though you're not, like, necessarily committed to him as, like, a new regime, he wasn't your guy. It's still a significant investment that, like, I don't know why you don't want to just keep trying to develop that.
Well, they moved him to guard now in terms of Tevin Jenkins. But yeah, Gillespie, hard-hitting safety. He was out of is he out of I have Louisiana in my mind. But I don't remember if that's right or not. Actually, he should be. I have the Titans depth chart up, so if they got it updated, if he's on here already. They did get it updated. All right. Oh, Missouri. I don't know why I was thinking Louisiana. Yeah, out of Mizzou. So, yeah, see if he can. I mean, he was listed at like 4th string strong safety. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's tough getting traded week 2 of the preseason. You only got 1 game left to show.
Right. But I mean, good on the Raiders. Like, I mean, if he was on the bubble, if he was bubble-licious, and they just got to pick up a 7th round pick for him.
Yeah. See what the conditions are. They might get a pick. They might not. I mean, they'll get a 7th. They'll just hopefully they're trying to get a 6th out of that.
Yeah.
All right. Some general news here. The big news, the biggest news of the week. We were waiting on this to come down. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson reached a settlement with the NFL. It is officially 11-game suspension, additional 5 games for him, and he has to pay $5 million fine. Chump change for Deshaun Watson.
Right.
After signing a $230 million contract this offseason with the Browns.
Fully guaranteed.
Yeah. His suspension begins August 30th, and he can come back to the facility in a limited fashion, just lifting, I believe, and going to meetings. I think that's all he can do when he comes back on October 10th. Then he can start practicing on November 14th, and then he will return officially week 13, December 4th against the Houston Texans in Houston.
Yep. Because of course.
Yeah. And I literally LMAO'd watching this on ESPN. I don't know if you saw Mina Kimes talking about Deshaun Watson's suspension and just absolutely ripping the NFL.
I love that. I love Mina Kimes, and she's such a good, like, well-spoken, like, person too. Like, I'll have to go back and look at that, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, she was saying about, I mean, the narrative, the NFL. I mean, you have to think that if she was, one of the things she said about it was, if the NFL wanted this to go away, why would they make it so that he came back against the Texans, right?
Right.
Because then we're still going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw that, because again, the news came down yesterday. I was at the bachelor's party. Didn't get a chance to check my Twitter like for a while, but then I was scrolling through my feed at one point yesterday, and I saw the tweet where it was like he's eligible to come back to play like in a game against the Texans. I was like, there it is. Because like you can clearly see like the NFL priority there being money. Like everyone and their brother, like the Texans should get smoked in that game. Like on paper, it should not be competitive at all. But everyone and their mother is going to tune into that game because of the storyline.
Yeah, we'll talk about that game in a sec. But yeah, another thing that Mina was commenting on, and I agreed as well. I mean, Deshaun is, if he wasn't mandated to have media access, I think the Browns should be keeping him on lock and key, because it feels like the last couple times anyways that he has spoken to the media, he just keeps saying things that are very attackable.
Yes.
I mean, he's not remorseful. He's
Right.
he's he said sorry to the women that were triggered,
Yes.
not the actual
Yes.
women in the lawsuits. It's like,
yes. Well, it's because he's trying to do this tap dance, right? Like it's so clear he's trying to like have the cake and eat it too. Like I think he's represented right by David Mulgeta, right? Prominent sports agent. Saw a tweet from Mulgeta this morning, said Deshaun Watson has maintained his innocence through this whole ordeal. And then he said, and he is very remorseful to all of the women who've been put in this situation. Well, you can't have it both ways. Either you didn't do anything and you're completely innocent, or you did something that you regret and you're sorry for doing that to those people. And that's what Deshaun did before the preseason game against the Jaguars. He said like the same thing.
Yeah.
Kind of maintaining his innocence, but at the same time trying to show remorse that doesn't really stick. So, yeah.
And the thing is, like, why did you settle? Right?
Exactly.
You're innocent. Yep. Then go to trial. Win the trial.
Yep.
But you settled 23 of the 24 lawsuits.
Like, when the settlement came through, there were so many knee-jerk reactions, like, and I hate when this happens where it's like they'll say, "Oh, these women just wanted money." Like, first off, it's so close to victim blaming. It's like, it's bad. But like, when you really think about it, it's worse for Watson than it is for the women who quite possibly just want to be done with this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Deshaun's innocent, he should have a vested interest in trying to clear his name, which would be going to trial and like not doing anything. I saw a tweet, someone put it like perfectly, in my opinion. They said, like, look, if someone said you didn't do anything, or if someone said you did do something that you know in your heart of hearts you didn't do, why would you pay that much money to that person to like cancel all the legal stuff, but then they can still like kind of like, do whatever. And then it leads kind of credibility to their, lie, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's like the perspective of people who are kind of defending Watson in this situation. But like we just said, like it shows more of like, I mean, he has the money to do it, so why not?
Yeah. And I mean, judging by his, just looking at his face when he's talking to the media, I mean, that's not a face that looks sorry for anything.
No. Yeah.
So
the body language is all off, and it's bad because it's also reflected in the organization. Like, you see, like, anytime Andrew Berry has a press conference, like, it's like a funeral in there, man. And like
they asked him if he would still do the trade right now, and he said yeah.
I mean, of course he has to say that, right? He can't like say no, but like,
yeah,
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's such a weird like situation. Like, you and I, we could do a whole podcast, like an entire podcast just on the Deshaun Watson like situation with like multiple episodes, like a limited series podcast just on that, because there's so many moving parts on the Brown side, on the Deshaun side. Hearing the women's stories where you're like, I don't know, on the NFL side, because it doesn't make any sense that he should get 11 games and Calvin Ridley is missing another year of his prime because he bet 15 grand on his own team to win when he wasn't even playing in the game. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll have to get Professor Anderson on that and get that going.
Yeah.
The 2023 Hall of Fame Seniors Committee, they announced their three finalists, three player finalists. They will still, they have yet to announce who their coach / contributor finalist is. But the three players are Cowboys defensive lineman Chuck Howley, who was a Super Bowl MVP in the 70s for one of their two Super Bowls there. Jets defensive lineman Joe Klecko, and Bengals corner Ken Riley. So I don't know much about all three. I think I know the most about Chuck Howley, just because he was on those 70s Cowboys teams that were very good with Roger Staubach. But yeah, they're your three seniors player finalists. And in order to get inducted, I believe it's 80% that they need of the voters to vote them in. So we'll see how many of those guys get in.
Yeah, his MVP, his Super Bowl MVP was for 5, right? Super Bowl 5.
Was that against the Dolphins?
The Colts, I think. Yeah, that's right. I thought that was him. So let's see. Super Bowl MVP
against the Colts
for Super Bowl 5. He's the only Super Bowl MVP for the losing team.
Yeah,
because they lost to the Colts. That's right.
All right. Update. Just have one on guy not playing. Lamar Jackson not gonna play.
Your boy.
I do have a little Lamar Jackson thing. A little plush Lamar Jackson. I don't know. I don't remember what the thing is actually called. So it's not like an action figure. It's like a plush doll thing. I got it for free when I ordered off Fanatics. So I was like, whatever.
Love it.
It's memorabilia. It's fine. Panthers. Now, okay, so this was on CBS Sports. I've talked multiple times about how much I don't really like CBS Sports, but I had to put it on here. The Panthers expected to name quarterback Baker Mayfield the starter for week 1. Everyone and their mother knew this was coming. And I think it's probably not a story on many other places right now because they're playing tonight yet. But I think we'll hear tomorrow that Matt Rule is going to come out and say, yeah, Baker's our starter week 1, especially because neither Baker Mayfield nor Sam Darnold are playing tonight. It's going to be PJ Walker starting, and then him and Matt Corral will alternate quarters, which is an interesting scenario, alternating quarters.
Yeah, well, and he's been criticized a little bit with the reps that he's giving out to people. Who gets to play what time.
So yeah, this is a big battle though. I don't even know if you want to call it a battle. I don't really think it is. You're not going to cut a 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
So especially a quarterback. So
right.
But PJ is going to get a chance to show some other people film.
Yeah. There are a lot of worse. That sounds ridiculous to say, but there are a lot of worse QB rooms in the NFL than the Panthers right now, at least in terms of depth.
Yeah, for sure. Injury wise, we got an update on Jets quarterback Zach Wilson. Successful knee surgery on his torn meniscus. They have not ruled him out yet for week 1. They said week 1 is still in play at this point, which makes sense. Week 1 from the time of injury would be about 3 weeks. So that's right in the middle of the initial 2 to 4 week diagnosis.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that's good news, but again, it sucks that you can't get the preseason reps. And then I don't think the product we see week 1 or 2 is going to be great.
I mean, yeah, they said they wouldn't put him out until he's 100%, which obviously, but we all want to see Joe Flacco against the Ravens week 1. We all want to see the revenge game.
Yep. Yeah. The stars aligning perfectly.
I want to see Joe Flacco shred the Ravens week 1. Please.
And we can put the debate to rest. Joe Flacco is elite.
I'm gonna pick the Jets week 1 when we get to our pick'ems.
Really?
Yeah. Just because of Joe Flacco and because Chris is a Jets fan. So him and I will go in on the Jets week 1.
Love it.
Chiefs wide receiver Mecole Hardman carted off Wednesday with a groin injury. The cart was kind of secondary because I saw that someone said he was starting to walk off before the cart came and got him.
Okay.
There's a long way to walk with an injured groin to the locker room.
Right, yeah. Especially from like the practice field,
yeah. So yeah. But Mecole with a groin issue.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully he comes back. I mean, this is a big year for him. Obviously, this is the best chance he has to carve out like a significant role because it's kind of all up in the air who's going to take that wide receiver 1 job. So hopefully it's not significant.
I'm indifferent. I know he's a Georgia boy, but he's probably one of the few Georgia players in the NFL that I am not a fan of. I think he is just absolute trash and he is not good.
Well, every year it's been like, this is his year to break out. But like, I'm not necessarily talking about like, I think he's going to do it. I just like, this is his probably best chance to do it because there's no Tyreek. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it'll happen.
Yeah. Seahawks running back Ken Walker III underwent a procedure for a hernia. I know. I was watching ESPN the other day, and Adam Schefter was talking about Ken Walker, and he's like, had surgery for a sports hernia that's not a sports hernia. Because the Pete Carroll and the Seahawks are just calling it a hernia. They're not calling it a sports hernia or a core muscle injury, which is a lot longer term. And they said that he's still expected to be there week 1. So yeah.
Well, hey, mark down your cheat sheets and fantasy accordingly.
Yeah. I am not taking him. Not in that timeshare. Vikings tight end Irv Smith coming off thumb surgery. Head coach Kevin O'Connell said that he is on track to play week 1. So great news for Kirk Cousins and co. having their number 1 tight end on the field. Yep.
And, I hope we finally get to see Irv Smith healthy. That sounds weird coming from a diehard Packers fan, but just as like a football fan, like the talent that Irv Smith is and the potential there, like if he can put it together and like stay healthy, like that could be like just really fun to watch in general.
Yeah. A couple transactions. The Ravens just today signed Raiders wide receiver DeMarcus Robinson. So trying to upgrade their depth, they needed depth. Was weird that DeMarcus Robinson didn't make the Raiders after he signed this offseason with them. I thought that he was pretty good 4th receiver behind Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams, and I don't know who the third one is. But yeah, I think he'll make the roster in Baltimore probably.
Yeah, I mean they're more thin at wide receiver than the Raiders are. So,
and then the Chargers, they signed safety Derwin James to a 4-year, $76.4 million extension, $42 million guaranteed. Reset the safety market. Very good news for Bengals safety Jesse Bates on the tag this year. But yeah, Derwin, nice payday for him.
Yeah, well deserved in my opinion. He's another guy where like you wish he was a little more healthy, but like when he's healthy, he's like, I mean, what, top 3 safety? Like you're not putting many people ahead of him.
Yeah, for sure. All right, the AFC South season preview. Newcomers to the division here. We got 2 rookies, 2 veterans. Trayvon Walker for the Jags. That is Damian Pierce for the Texans. Robert Woods with the Titans. And, of course, Matt Ryan with the Colts. Starting off with the Jags, though. Re-signings. Wide receiver Laquan Treadwell. Offensive tackle Cam Robinson, offensive lineman Tyler Shatley, and defensive end Adam Gotsis. Jags spent money in free agency, a lot of it, to acquire wide receivers Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, tight end Evan Ingram, guard Brandon Sheriff, defensive end Arden Key, defensive tackle Foley Fatukasi, linebacker Foye Aluakon, and corner Darius Williams. Yeah, that was, I think that was probably one of the best free agent classes with a lot of guys that probably some people don't know about. Defensive guys specifically.
Yeah, as the Jaguars offseason kind of started to come together, it became, I think, a lot better. Some of the decisions they made in like a vacuum, like the Christian Kirk signing, like we've said enough about that. I think everyone has. But I think one thing that like I've heard people say, and I think I totally agree with, is that like what they've done and what they needed to do is they needed to raise like the floor.
Yeah.
Like the way I see it, it's almost like opposite of kind of how the Bills have built their kind of mega team, kind of around Josh Allen. They kind of waited to see if Josh Allen could make that year 2 progression. And then in year 3, they said, all right, we got our guy. Like, let's get him a bona fide number 1 superstar wide receiver, and let's try to get this thing to the next level. To me, at least offensively, it looks like the Jaguars are saying, look, like we know what we have in Trevor Lawrence, because even though last year wasn't what we all expected from a prospect of his caliber, he still showed plenty of flashes, and we know, what he is as a prospect. He has all the physical tools. Let's just right away, let's raise the floor and hope that he can elevate the rest. So, like the wide receiver room, again, for the money they spent, you'd hope there's more of a bona fide number 1. But he's got a decent amount of weapons that I think he can work with. I think they raised the floor there. I think, Evan Ingram obviously has the drop issue, but he's still a tall, physical, wide receiver-ish / tight end who I think they can do some fun stuff with Doug Peterson. And I think that's the biggest addition that I think makes all of this work, is that when you raise the floor for a guy like Doug Peterson, like good things can really happen for you. Because he's another guy that can kind of help elevate the people around you. Defensively,
How many games are we going to get from Ingram, though?
What?
How many games are we going to get from Ingram, though?
Yeah, that's also true. It's another guy. The best ability is availability. But defensively, you hit on it too. Is like they made some, I think, really good signings. I love Foley Fatukasi. I think he's perfect for that line. He's more shifty than like people give him credit for. So like you put him next to Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen, like he can be good for you there. Arden Key's a guy who's been able to carve out a decent role in the NFL after some turmoil early on in his career, but he's kind of put it all together. Foye Aluakon is one of the best middle linebackers in football right now. And like at the end of this year, like I wouldn't be surprised to say that the Jaguars have the best linebacking core in the NFL. Like drafted Devin Lloyd, Chad Muma, and they signed Foye Oluokun. Like that has the potential to be like a absolute stellar, middle of your defense. So I think it's intriguing. I think there are obviously still some question marks a lot on the team, but I think that it helps them step in the right direction to be competitive. And I think that's very important.
Yeah, they better hope Foye Oluokun is not a one-year wonder.
Yeah.
Massive tackle numbers last year for the Falcons. Losses wise, the Jags, running back Carlos Hyde, running back Dario Gumbawale, wide receiver Tavon Austin and DJ Chark, tight ends Jacob Hollister and James O'Shaughnessy, guards AJ Cann, Andrew Norwell, center Brandon Linder retired. I think that was a major loss. Defensive end Jihad Ward, defensive tackle Taven Bryan, and linebackers Miles Jack and Damian Wilson.
Yeah. I think they can endure a lot of these losses. I think the biggest losses are on that interior line, as you mentioned, Brandon Linder, also the two guards leaving. And then I do think they are going to miss DJ Chark, at least to a certain degree, having a big wide receiver like him for Lawrence. But I don't know. I think that their signings do help mitigate that. Obviously, bringing in Brandon Scherf, outstanding, going to help mitigate those losses. So we'll see.
Yeah. Also, they drafted Linder's replacement this year in Luke Fortner, third-round pick out of Kentucky. Jags schedule. So I do have the Jags improving. They went 3-14 last year, 2-15.
Yeah. No, were they 1-16?
No. I think they went 2-15 at the very least. But yeah, they went 2-15 because the Lions had the tie with the Steelers. That the Lions went 2-14-1, I think. Or
no, you're right. They were 3-14. Yep.
Yeah, because the Lions went 3-13-1 to lose out on the first pick by a half. I think that's but anyways, I had them 5-12 this year. So a couple win improvement for the Jags, 2-4 in the division. Week 1 at the Commanders, loss. Week 2, they are home against Indianapolis. That is a win. They beat the Colts every single time. They've won. They haven't lost to the Colts in Jacksonville since 2008, I think it is. I think that's the record or something like that.
They have a number.
Maybe it's farther up in years, but I know it's been a long time, and the Colts had a playoff spot in reach, and they couldn't do it in week 18 last year. At the Chargers is a loss. At the Eagles is a loss. They beat the Texans at home. They lose in Indianapolis. They beat the Giants at home. They beat the Broncos in London. That's
their home stadium. Yeah, their home stadium. Yeah, of course.
They're gonna beat Denver. I'm telling you. They lose at home against the Raiders. They lose in Kansas City. Week 11 bye. Lose at home against the Ravens. Yeah, the second half is not very pretty. I have one win in the last 8 games of the season. But yeah, lose home against the Ravens, lose in Detroit to the Lions, lose at the Titans. They lose. They host the Cowboys and lose. They beat the Jets at the Jets on Thursday Night Football. They lose in Houston, and they lose Week 18 at home against the Titans. I have 7 games starred here. the first 2 weeks, there is a way that I could see them beating Washington in Washington. Definitely, I think doable. Doug Peterson has inside info as the coach of Carson Wentz prior. So definitely, I think they could possibly win that one. Week 2 against the Colts, like I said, yeah, they're going to beat a playoff caliber team, but it's because the Colts can't win in Jacksonville. Weeks 7 and 8, I have them winning against the Giants at home and beating the Broncos in London, which is a home game for Jacksonville. Yeah, the Giants game, I think, is another close one. I am not very high on the Giants this year. So, yeah, I have the Jags winning that one. And then the London game, I mean, Jags are good in London. So,
yep.
Week 13 at the Lions. I had that as an L. Definitely could see the Jags winning that game, though. And then week 16, that's the Thursday nighter at the Jets. I told Will that yesterday that was the week 16 Thursday night game. He said, who allowed that to happen? That's quite the game late in the season on Thursday night. Yeah. And then week 18 against the Titans, I have starred. Have that as a loss right now. Could see a scenario where the Jags win that game if the Titans are locked in the playoffs and not playing anyone.
Yeah, I think I'm right with you. I'm at like 5-12, 6-11 with them. And I think the big thing for me, and that I think a broader prediction for them this year, is that I think they're going to be a better team in the back half of the season than they are in the front. I think in the front, there's going to be a lot of growing pains. Still getting over the Urban Meyer era, I think, and having Doug Peterson implement his, vision for the team. But as they start to kind of come together, I think you're going to see kind of what the team can be and kind of be a little competitive. And you say, you look, week 13 against the Lions. I'd have that as a loss too, but I think it's winnable. I think Jets is winnable. Texans is winnable. Titans potentially. I think either Titans game could be winnable either way, even if the Titans are a playoff team, because I think that the Titans have some holes right now that could be exploited, just like the way the Jaguars were able to pull it out against the Colts. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they start off really bad and people are talking like, man, they're in the running for the first pick again. But I think they're going to finish the season strong, and I think there's going to be some hope there in Jacksonville.
Yeah. So fantasy wise, we got quarterback Trevor Lawrence. I'm still not touching him yet. He has to prove it.
Yeah. Well, for sure in redraft. Like there's so many other guys that I think have more upside just in terms of their weapons. Like, and again, we talked about they raised the floor for him, but he still doesn't have that dude, right? That guy who can just shred you, and there's nothing you can do about it. In Dynasty right now, I'm working through a startup right now. I love the value of them in Dynasty right now. You can get them like if you're in a 12-man league, you can get them in like the 3rd or 4th round.
Yeah,
that's just 1 year removed from him being like one of the hottest commodities, depending on what format you're playing. So I don't know. Dynasty, I love them, but yeah, redraft, like I'm not touching them either.
Running backs, Travis Etienne Jr., James Robinson. So James Robinson has been very good for the Jags in his 2 seasons in Jacksonville. Travis Etienne lost his entire rookie year last year to a Liz Frank injury. There are a lot of people that are just like exponentially high and think that Travis Etienne is going to be like a top 5 running back this year. I mean, I've heard some crazy things about the expectations for him. I would draft him if I had to. I do like there's a lot of other running backs I like better because you're just not sure. With nothing seen on the field in the NFL for him yet. So, I mean, I would probably draft him as your RB4 on your team.
So I am a little more optimistic, I say, about him because thanks to some of the fantasy guys I follow on Twitter, for one key stat is that last year Trevor Lawrence, and that might change because again they added some weapons, but last year Trevor Lawrence like led the league for quarterbacks in terms of yards based on checkdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that Travis Etienne can just be a master at. And I think that if you're in a PPR format, I think he's a guy who could potentially become a PPR merchant, PPR god, if you will. I don't know if that's going to happen this year. And I totally agree. I don't see like RB5 upside. Like, I don't see that coming. But I'd be comfortable taking him as like an RB3, potentially an RB2 if you feel like then you can handcuff him with Robinson. Or if you're in a zero RB strat, you know, I think he'd be a good RB2. So yeah.
Yeah. That the timeshare thing is also an unknown that we're waiting to see, you know, and obviously you got to draft without seeing it. So
yeah, that's why I never draft Patriots running backs. Just don't do it.
You just got to draft like all 4 on the depth chart and then you know, start 3 of them, and then the 4th guy that you drafted ends up scoring 2 touchdowns week 1.
Exactly, yeah. Because one of the other guys fumbled and Bill's upset about it, so he just doesn't see the field then.
But yeah, James Robinson. I think people are sleeping on James Robinson because of ETN. Again, I wouldn't touch. I don't really like either necessarily. I mean, personally, I'm not drafting either of them unless I have to, unless there aren't any other players, which I usually try to find other players if I don't like a guy on the board. But yeah, Robinson, I don't know how you could draft him.
Yeah,
he's gonna get drafted. People are drafting him, but
yeah, I wouldn't take him more than a late round flyer. Again, a quality handcuff if you already have ETN.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I don't see the value.
Wide receivers: Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones Jr., and Zay Jones. The Kirk is. I mean, I loved Christian Kirk with the Cardinals. Now he's going to get a bigger target share, not being an offense with DeAndre Hopkins anymore. Expected to be the number 1. So, yeah, I like him as a wide receiver too.
Yeah, I think he's a guy who can develop a pretty good chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. That's what they brought him in to do. I just don't know if I see the ceiling for him. I think it's capped. You know, he had limited production in a admittedly pass heavy friendly offense. Now last year he did have kind of a breakout year. So, I mean, part of that contract is hoping that he just continues to progress, which we could see. I like the upside in that respect. But yeah, I don't know if I like him as wide receiver too. You know, I mean, it depends on if you're going RB heavy or not. But yeah, I like where he is right now. Like, I like his ADP. I think he has good value there. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and just looking at the schedule, thinking about number one corners that he's going to play against, there aren't too many guys on their schedule that I can think of their number one corner off the top of my head. So, you know, obviously he's going to play. JC Jackson's going to be on him against the Chargers.
Yep.
I don't know if it's going to be probably Darius Slay for the Eagles is going to be on him. And then the Broncos, more than likely, it's going to be Pat Surtain.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens is going to be Marcus Peters, I would have to think. And then I can't think of any of the other. So that's only 4 that I can think of that of their number one corners off the top of my head that are going to be really hard matchups. But the Joneses here, Marvin Jones is always a guy that just constantly produces. No matter the situation, he gives you a base of wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside. That's just like what Marvin Jones has done his whole career. So I would be comfortable drafting him as a 4th wide receiver coming off the bench, possibly into a flex role.
Yeah, I love Marvin Jones. Big Marvin Jones guy. Was, you know, a little disappointed, I guess, in his 2021. But yeah, I agree. He's a steady Eddie, man. He's, you know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get like 9 points base with like maybe 13 high, like in somewhere in that range. So
yeah, it's good for your flex position.
It is.
Zay Jones. Now, Zay Jones is interesting. He had a really good year last year with the Raiders. Was Hunter Renfro's number 2. And he is the guy that I'm scared of if I have Marvin Jones already, because they signed Zay Jones this offseason to a free agent deal. So yeah, he's going to get drafted, I think, in most leagues as well. But yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either. And it does make me a little worried to draft Marvin Jones, because then you're like, okay, well, then you need to – are you obligated to draft Zay Jones? And then all of a sudden you have too many Jaguars shares, and you're like, why did I draft all these players from this offense that has not shown anything yet? But, yeah, I don't know. I kind of wish, Zay Jones just like re-signed with the Raiders.
Yeah.
And been their wide receiver 3, semi-deep threat.
Yeah, well, you're gonna draft Evan Ingram. So I'm not touching Evan Ingram at all. He's not even on my radar. So you can talk about Evan Ingram's fantasy value.
I mean, so like the reports out of camp like definitely aren't like promising at all. Like still having that drop issue. And again, I think depending on how big your league is, like I think in most leagues, like don't touch him. Like just don't do it. But if you're like in a bigger league and like you're looking for like a tight end too with a little bit of upside, like I think they brought him in to help be a red zone target for Trevor Lawrence. And I think Trevor Lawrence can help him like become that. Like, let's be honest, like as bad as Evan Ingram has been, his quarterback play hasn't been great since he's been drafted. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe all you need is a change of scenery. I don't know.
Late career Eli was great for Evan Ingram. One thing I did think of while you're talking, though, Doug Peterson's offense is very nice for tight ends.
It is.
Hurts, Dallas Goedert when he was with the Eagles, both were productive.
Mm-hmm.
So look out for Dan Arnold. Look out for Dan Arnold. I told people about Dan Arnold last year because I thought he was going to have a great year with Carolina. Got traded to Jacksonville and still had a decent season, but now he's behind. Jags defense, no chance. No chance. I'm touching them in fantasy.
Yeah, no shot.
There's a lot of potential, but I think it's more of a 2023 situation.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Maybe even 24. Like I said, that linebacking core has a chance to be the best in the league, but and obviously the two edges now, there's a good chance there. And I like some of the D line signings they had but that secondary is a huge question mark. And are they going to be able to generate a lot of interior pressure? Can Trevon Walker develop into that guy? I think he can. I've liked what I've seen from him in preseason, but again, that's a lot to ask a rookie to just come in, especially when he's learning a new position, basically. So yeah, I mean, don't touch him with a 10-foot pole this season in terms of their defense.
If they can get that defense figured out, though, that's what they rode to the 2017 AFC Championship game.
Yeah. They had some dudes on that team.
Kicker, Ryan Santoso here. They actually deleted. There was another kicker on the depth chart on ESPN earlier today when I looked. They actually deleted him off. So Santoso it is a guy that signed with the Giants last year, I believe. Didn't get to make it. He looked decent in preseason. He kicked for the Panthers and the Giants, I believe, last season. Now signed with the Jags. I like him. He's a guy that not many people know about, but I DM'd him on Instagram when he first signed with the Panthers. I was trying to get an interview from him. Did not respond.
Hey, shoot, all right?
Yeah.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
But I don't know what happened to Josh Lambo, though.
Yeah.
Because he was their kicker for the longest time, and I guess they just did not bring him back this year.
Did he sign anywhere else?
I don't believe so. Not that I know.
No, he's a free agent.
Yeah. Well, he had injury issues last year, I think. So they wanted to get younger at that position, as the Packers should do as well.
Yes, they should, but they aren't.
One rookie to talk about in fantasy that does not have much redraft value. He has some dynasty value, I guess. But running back Snoop Connor drafted this year. Yeah, I do know a bunch of people that drafted him in our rookie drafts.
Yeah.
Just because he's a rookie running back, and
Yeah, I'm not touched. It's one of those things where I like the player, I like Snoop Connor. When he was drafted the Jaguars, I was like, well, there's a guy. You just can't do any. Again, you're drafting him assuming there's going to be two significant injuries.
Yeah,
and he's.
But I mean, in 2 more years.
Yeah, right.
James Robinson could be gone in free agency, and then he's the number 2.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a massive rebuild and you have 3 third-round picks or something, or you're just friggin' stacked and you just I don't know, want to take a massive flyer because you can. But for 90% of everybody else, I don't know. I wouldn't take him.
Yeah. You gotta go, right?
Yep, I'm hopping off. But you want me to give some parting shots here?
Before you go, give us what you have record wise for the other 3 teams.
Yeah. So Texans, I think I've said before, I like a lot of the things they're doing. I think I think there's some potential there, but I think they're going to be hot garbage again this year. I don't. I mean, I don't mean to be that blunt about it, but like I just don't see John Mechie losing John Mechie. Like I can't stress enough how much I think that's going to be huge because I think he could have came in and just been productive right away. And hopefully he comes back healthy. I loved what they did in the draft. Loved their draft, but again, they have so many holes on that roster that even if you have a good draft, it's not gonna move the needle enough. You need multiple good drafts. You need to string them together. So I have them. I think I have them at 3 and 14, 4 and 13. Again, kind of that bottom 5, bottom 10 area.
I have them 5 and 12.
Yeah. So the Titans, I'm admittedly much lower on the Titans actually. Than I think a lot of people are. I think they're getting hated on. It's funny. They're like two extremes. There's like pro Titans, like, hey, they were the number 1 seed last year. Like, yeah, they lost AJ Brown, but like they're gonna be fine. And then there's like they're gonna go like 5 and 12. Like I'm like I don't think they're a playoff team. I think they're going to miss the playoffs, but I think they're going to go like 9 and 8, 8 and 9, somewhere near that 500 range.
Great mind.
Yeah.
I have 9 and 8. I have 9 and 8.
the issue is that Derrick Henry's a year older. He's coming off of a major injury, and that O-line has not looked like the 2019, 2020 O-line like they had. And again, they lost AJ Brown.
I'll talk about
I'll
talk about it more too. Their schedule is their first place schedule is rough.
Yeah. Yep. And I love Treylon Burks, but like I don't think he's AJ Brown. And I think they expect him to be AJ Brown, and everybody else does because like he looks ish like him, but he's not. AJ Brown's a freak human. Like they just don't make those. He's like a one of one.
So he ripped the ball away from Greedy Williams today in practice.
Yep.
On a fade from Jalen Hurts, and he stood over Greedy.
Yep. Greedy's a tall dude too. Greedy he's like a 6'2" corner, isn't he? He's like tall, long. Yeah. AJ Brown's an insane person. So I have them taking a pretty big step back. The Colts, I like the Colts, man. I do. I think this team, really what they needed is just a consistent quarterback. And I think Matt Ryan can just be that. Short of just like completely falling off a cliff and like just having a noodle arm, which I mean is possible, but I don't see it happening for like another 2 years. I think he can be that perfect like game manager who's just consistent, can get the ball where it needs to go in the offense, and then the defense takes care of itself. I have them going 11 and 6. I think I have them winning the division.
Yeah, we are.
So yeah,
we are rolling with the public.
Yeah,
I'm at 10 and 7, 3 and 3 in division though.
Yeah,
splitting all 3.
Yep. And I mean, I think that's where it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like headline grabby either way and be like they're gonna go 6 and 11 or like Matt Ryan's gonna win MVP again.
They're going 16 and 1.
Yeah. Shock the world. All right, dude, I'm gonna head off.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
See you, dude. See you next week.
Sir. Alrighty, the Houston Texans here. So re-signings: quarterback Jeff Driscoll, running back Royce Freeman, wide receiver Chris Conley, wide receiver Brandon Cooks, offensive lineman Justin Britt, defensive tackle Malik Collins, linebackers Kamu Grugier-Hill, Neville Hewitt and Christian Kirksey, safety Terrence Brooks, and defensive back Desmond King. Free agent signings, trade acquisitions, quarterback Kyle Allen, running backs Marlon Mack, Dario Gumbawale, and fullback Andy Janovich. Wide receiver Chad Beebe, offensive tackle Cedric Abuhi, guard AJ Can, defensive ends Mario Addison and Rasheem Green, Jerry Hughes. They traded for linebacker Blake Cashman from the Jets. They also signed linebacker Jalen Reeves-Maben, corners Fabian Moreau and Steven Nelson, and safety MJ Stewart. Love the Brandon Cooks re-signing. He is one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. Fantastic for fantasy. He's always available in a valuable spot. So definitely I'll talk more about his fantasy value there. I think getting their 3 linebackers back. Grugier Hill is a special teams ace. Was for the Eagles, is for the Texans still, and will continue to be. Christian Kirksey, I think, is an underrated linebacker that I like a lot. And Desmond King is probably one of the best nickel corners in the league. The free agent signings are so-so. So the Texans have done this back-to-back years where they sign a bunch of guys to short-term deals that are veterans, and they're trying to just, they're trying to tape up these holes with masking tape until they can get some nice filler in there to actually get future starters at the position. So I like the defensive ends they brought in, Addison, Green, and Hughes. The corners are pretty good, Fabian Moreau and Nelson there. And then an experienced backup in Kyle Allen, I think it was a good move for them as well. And Andy Janovich, one of the best fullbacks in the league. Losses wise, quarterbacks Tyrod Taylor, and they obviously traded quarterback Deshaun Watson. Running back David Johnson, wide receiver Danny Amendola retired. They also lost wide receiver Deshaun Hamilton, tight end Jordan Akins, offensive tackle Marcus Cannon, defensive end Jacob Martin, corner Terrence Mitchell, safety Justin Reed, and they traded defensive back Lonnie Johnson to the Chiefs. I don't think there's many besides Deshaun Watson. I really don't see many impactful losses. Justin Reed's probably the most impactful loss out of those guys that is not named Deshaun Watson. So I think they're okay with the guys that they lost. The Texans, I have them tying the Jags at 5-12, 2-4 in division. I have them winning week 1. They are hosting the Indianapolis Colts. I have them beating the Colts week 1. Big game. I just think the Texans are going to be ready. Week 2 at the Broncos, that's a loss. At the Bears, week 3 is a win. They come home to the Chargers and lose. They lose in Jacksonville. They have an early bye week 6. Lose in Vegas. They host the Titans and lose. They host the Eagles on Thursday Night Football and lose. They beat the Giants in New York. They lose at home to the Commanders. They upset Miami in Miami. They lose to the Browns at home in week 13. That's the first game Deshaun Watson's back. They lose at the Cowboys. They lose at home to the Chiefs. They lose at the Titans. They beat the Jags at home. And then they lose at the Colts week 18. So starred games, I have the first game against the Colts. Obviously, that's an upset. I don't know. I just think the Texans are going to be ready. Davis Mills, Brandon Cooks, they're going to be good to go. Damian Pierce. So yeah, I like them. I like them beating the Colts week 1. Losing in Jacksonville week 5. I think they can definitely beat the Jags. I believe in Davis Mills a lot and what they've done for this roster. So I like them, and I could see them beating the Jags before their bye. Week 9, that's Thursday Night Football. That's a home game against the Eagles. The Eagles are too good. This is me being a homer and biased, but also at the same time being realistic in that the Eagles are a much better football team than the Houston Texans are at this point. And then I have weeks 11 to 13 starred. Loss at home against the Commanders, win at the Dolphins, and lose at home to the Browns. Realistically, I could see the Texans winning all 3. Look, the Commanders are a team that are a coin flip for many games, which will be interesting to watch when I pick their season in our NFC East preview. But yeah, I could see the Texans being able to win that game. It's at home too, so yeah. The win at the Dolphins, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of a gut feeling win selection there, and I needed one more win to get over the 4.5 threshold that their wins is set at, because I love the Texans this year, and I think they're going to surprise people, possibly winning more than 5 games that I have them set at. And then the week 13, that's Deshaun Watson's first game back. I would laugh very hard and hysterically if the Texans can beat the Browns that week. If Deshaun comes out rusty like he did the first preseason game, he's absolutely terrible. So why wouldn't that be the same coming into live action after 2 3/4 years, So could see that as a win. And I didn't start, but I'm going to talk about it. Week 18 at the Colts. If the Colts have the division locked up, yeah, I think the Texans can beat them in Indianapolis with the Colts starting Nick Foles at quarterback and most of their other backups. But if not, I would hold my L there for the Texans. Fantasy wise, quarterback Davis Mills. Look, I love Davis Mills. If you have a spot, or if you need to add another quarterback in Dynasty, do it. Definitely trade for him if you can. It's not going to cost that much right now, but I absolutely love Davis Mills. Redraft wise is a little bit tougher. I think he's going to end up being a solid QB2 for you, but there are a lot of other quarterbacks that you could probably get that are going to have better fantasy seasons. The thing is with the Texans, they're going to be down on a lot of games. So if he can come out and do what he did like the last quarter of the season last year, I mean, Davis Mills would be a viable fantasy option. Running back Marlon Mack, Rex Burkhead. No, I don't like either guy. Marlon Mack, his time has kind of sailed away. Best seasons were in Indianapolis. Second year after an ACL tear. So we'll see how he does in a new situation in Houston. He gets to play the Colts twice, so maybe mark those games for Marlon Mack and your DFS plays and whatnot. But Burkhead led the team in rushing last year. He was their number 1 running back in a surprise backfield. But I don't like either guy. I am not drafting either guy. Wide receiver, Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins. Brandon Cooks is a guy I love. I already talked about him. One of the most underrated receivers in the league. He has 6 1,000-yard seasons in 8 seasons. So definitely a guy you should be targeting as your wide receiver 2. You're probably going to end up having to get him in the mid rounds, probably somewhere between rounds 4 and 7, I would have to think. Nico Collins is a guy that I've heard a lot of good things about this year. He's sitting on my taxi squad right now. I actually just flipped him onto my active roster for Jawan Jennings, because Nico Collins is going to be your wide receiver 2 with John Mechie out for the year. I'll talk about him a little bit. But Nico Collins is a guy I'm excited about. I think in year 2, I believe he's year 2. Yeah. In year 2, I think he could make a major step. He could take a major step and produce very nicely for the Texans this year. So definitely, I think Nico Collins is a solid option to draft as your wide receiver 4 on your bench. Possible flex upside there. Tight end Brevin Jordan, I'm not as high on him now as I was when he got drafted to the Texans. I just don't think the Texans utilize their tight ends enough. That could change this year, but I am not drafting Brevin Jordan, and neither should you. Texans defense, just like the Jags, don't take the Texans defense. There are some pieces like Derek Stingley and Jalen Petrie, a couple of rookies there. Steven Nelson was a nice addition. They kept Desmond King and kept Grugier Hill and Kirksey. They also got Hughes in free agency and kept Malik Collins, but it's not good enough yet. They're not the Texans defenses of the early 2010s with JJ Watt and Jadeveon Clowney. Kicker Kaimi Fairbairn, he's an interesting case because he was the number one kicker 2 years ago in 2020, and he's kind of fallen off a bit, but I think he's still valuable if you have kickers. So I would probably put Kaimi Fairbairn in a starting spot. He has a massive leg, one of the best long range kickers in the league. So yeah, I think you'd be okay drafting him if you're one of the last teams to draft a kicker. And I think he's probably one of the top 12 there for a 12-man league. Rookies wise, wide receiver John Mechie, running back Dameon Pierce. I hate, Logan touched on it a little bit, but I hate that John Mechie's going to miss his rookie year. F cancer. It sucks a lot, but very excited to watch him next year when he comes back. So yeah, but definitely you're going to draft him in Dynasty. Definitely keep taking him in Dynasty drafts if you have rookie drafts going on. An option, and his value is going to be lower now because he's not playing this season. So definitely a guy I like in Dynasty. Running back Dameon Pierce, a lot of hype behind Dameon Pierce, and he has shown that he can live up to it so far. Anyways, obviously haven't played any regular season games, but he's a guy I love. I have taken him in a couple best ball leagues. I am gonna hopefully be able to get him in a couple of my redraft leagues when our drafts come up next weekend. But yeah, I love Dameon Pierce. You can take him as your RB3 with RB2 upside. Okay, the Tennessee Titans here, re-signings, running back Dontrell Hilliard, center Ben Jones, linebacker Harold Landry, long snapper Morgan Cox, and kicker Randy Bullock. Titans didn't do much in the offseason, free agent signings, trade acquisitions wise. They traded for wide receiver Robert Woods. They signed tight end Austin Hooper and tight end Jeff Swain. And they also signed offensive lineman Jamarco Jones. Absolutely love the Robert Woods signing. I'll talk more about that in a sec. The Hooper one is interesting. I think it filled a need. They lost Ferkser to the Falcons in free agency. But I'm not that big of a fan of Austin Hooper. So we'll have to see how he does this year. Losses wise, running backs Darrington Evans and Deontay Foreman. They traded away wide receiver AJ Brown. Also signed lost wide receivers Julio Jones and Chester Rogers. Tight end Anthony Ferkser. Guard David Quessenberry and Roger Saffold. Linebackers Jayon Brown and Rashawn Evans. And corners Janoris Jenkins and Buster Screen retired. So I have the Titans going 9-8, 5-1 in the division though. So only beating 4 teams outside the division. Like I said, their first place schedule from last year is absolutely ridiculously tough. Week 1 home against the Giants, that is a win. They go to Buffalo on Monday night. Week 2, that's a loss. They lose at home to the Raiders. They lose in Indianapolis. They win at the Commanders. They week 6 bye. They win at home against the Colts. They beat the Texans in Houston. They lose in Kansas City on Sunday Night Football. They beat the Broncos at home. They lose at the Packers on Thursday night. They lose at home to the Bengals. They lose at the Eagles. They beat the Jags at home. They lose at the Chargers. They beat the Texans at home, beat the Cowboys at home on Thursday Night Football, and they beat the Jags in Jacksonville week 18. So yeah, it doesn't start off very pretty. They have 2 streaks of losing, but they have 2 streaks of winning 3 as well. Starred games I have, there are a lot because, like I said, they have a first place schedule. So a lot of good teams on there this year. Week 2 through 4 at the Bills. That is a Monday nighter marquee matchup there. Loss. I have them losing all 3 of these games. At home against the Raiders, I think that one's a little bit closer. They could possibly pull that one out. And then in Indianapolis, week 4, again, I think Titans Colts is going to be a very good matchup both games this season, and possibly the Titans could sneak that one out. Next one I have week 7. That is the other Colts game. Like I said, both should be close games, I think, anyways. That one in Tennessee, they get the win. At the Chiefs, that is a Sunday night game, week 9. That's a loss. I don't think the Titans are going to be able to compete with Kansas City, even though both are a little bit lower this season. Weeks 10 through 13, I have started a big win against the Broncos at home. I think that game should be close. Could definitely see a scenario where the Broncos get the Titans. Then they have 3 straight losses again at the Packers on Thursday night, home against the Bengals, at the Eagles. I think all 3 of those teams are better than the Titans. The Packers, we'll have to see how their receiver room works out, but I still think they're a better team. They have a better quarterback, and their defense should be fantastic this year. So, yeah, all 3 of those losses. The Bengals are the Bengals, obviously, and then the Eagles I'm very high on this year. Week 15 at the Chargers. Again, it's a loss. Their Chargers are going to be very good. I have them winning the AFC West, and I have Justin Herbert winning the MVP. So, and then week 17, Thursday night game at home against the Cowboys. That's a win, late season win, big for them to try to make the playoffs. Anyways, I don't know if they will at 9-8 in this scenario, but yeah, I think the Titans can get that one at home on a short week. Fantasy-wise, running back or quarterback Ryan Tannehill. Look, I have him in one of my dynasty leagues, so I'm going to say you can take him. He's decent, and he runs the ball more than you think. So I like Ryan Tannehill as a QB2. Get him as your backup if you don't have any better options. He will be serviceable, a word we like to use on the show a lot. Running back Derrick Henry, obviously, he's going to be a first-round pick. The wear and tear scares me. Will I still draft him? Yes. I mean, he finished, like 9th in rushing last year and missed like 3/4 or half the season. So that's pretty crazy. He was on pace for 2,000 yards, I think, last season. Should have a monster workload again this year. We'll see if he can stay healthy for all 17 games. Wide receivers, Robert Woods, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Look, Robert Woods is a guy I absolutely love in fantasy this year. He's going to be the number 1 target for Ryan Tannehill in the passing game. And he was having a great season last year with the Rams before he tore his ACL. Should be back fine by week 1. So Robert Woods is a guy you're going to get wide receiver 2, and I think he has wide receiver 1 upside. Westbrook-Ikhine, you're not drafting him. I just put him on here because he's the other veteran receiver in the top 3 there. Don't touch him. I don't really have much to say about him. He's all right. He's not the worst receiver in the league, but not good enough for fantasy. Tight end Austin Hooper. I don't like him. Kind of a one-year wonder with the Falcons there. Got a massive contract with the Browns. Didn't produce enough there in Cleveland. He's filling in a spot. He's number 1 tight end once again. I just don't see it. He's a serviceable tight end too, but I am not drafting. Titans defense. Titans defense is intriguing to say the least. I think they're going to be middle of the league at worst. Possible top 10. That is if the secondary can hold up. That has been the biggest issue. That and the pass rush. They got the pass rush figured out last year. Jeffrey Simmons had a breakout season. Harold Landry was nice. And Bud Dupree got injured once again. But yeah, I think they're going to be good. I think they're draftable as a bottom of the league starter. So in that 11-12 range, maybe. But I'd feel more comfortable as a backup defense for right now, anyways. Kicker Randy Bullock. I don't like Randy Bullock that much. He missed some kicks last year, and but he's all right. I think he could be a starting caliber for kicker in fantasy. Just not on my radar, anyways. Okay, rookies, wide receivers, Traylon Burks, Kyle Phillips. Traylon Burks is a guy you will be targeting, maybe not in the first round, but definitely in the second round of rookie drafts for dynasty wise. Guy that's going to get a lot of run this year, has the wide receiver 2 for the Titans offense. But yeah, I think redraft wise, there's some value there late, but not a guy I am counting on this year in fantasy, anyways. Kyle Phillips is an interesting scenario there. 5th round pick out of UCLA, slated 4th on the roster right now. I could see a scenario where he moves up to the 3rd spot and takes that slot job away from Westbrook Akina. But Kyle Phillips is another guy you're going to draft in Dynasty. And he, unlike Burks, though, you are not going to draft in redraft leagues this year, unless there's injuries. Quarterback Malik Willis, same thing. You're not going to draft him in redraft. Draft him in Dynasty and wait him out. He'd be a nice addition to a taxi squad if your league has those. But yeah, Malik Willis is a guy I wasn't very high on this draft. That's why I loved Kenny Pickett instead. But definitely has the tools to do it. Massive arm strength. Needs to work on the mental game, though, learning NFL offenses and learning how to attack NFL caliber defenses. Running back Hassan Haskins. Hassan Haskins is it has a good position. So they re-signed Dontrell Hilliard, who's second on the depth chart right now. But Hassan Haskins is a guy I think has the potential to be sneaky, because if Derrick Henry goes down again, would it be Hilliard? Would it really be Hilliard? Or would they put in a guy that is similar to Derrick Henry and a guy that is a pounder? 6'2", 228 is Hassan Haskins. Dontrell Hilliard is very much smaller, 5'11", 202. And obviously Derrick Henry, 6'3", 247. So definitely closer in size to Derrick Henry. And I think Hassan Haskins could get a lot of run with the ones if Henry goes down. I would think that if you're handcuffing Derrick Henry, draft Hassan Haskins and don't spend an earlier draft pick on Hilliard. You might even be able to get Hassan Haskins undrafted. So, but I would definitely draft him if you already drafted Henry. Draft him late, like with your last pick or second to last pick. I don't think he's going to go very high, very much higher than the last 2 rounds or so. So, yeah, that's one of my deep sleepers for y'all out there is Hassan Haskins this year. Tight end Chigoziem Okonkwo. Look, I loved Chigo Okonkwo at Maryland. Unfortunately, he's the 3rd tight end this year. I could see him getting up to the tight end 2 position. I don't think he's going to supplant Austin Hooper right now. But if you need a tight end in Dynasty, he's an interesting situation and a player that I think could produce for you in the future if Austin Hooper struggles. Colts re-signings here. Tight end Mo Alley Cox, offensive tackle Matt Pryor, defensive end Tyquan Lewis, and linebacker Zaire Franklin. Free agent signings, trade acquisitions wise, quarterbacks Nick Foles, and they traded for Matt Ryan. Running back Philip Lindsay, offensive tackle Dennis Kelly. They traded for a defensive end Unique Ngakoue. They signed corners Brandon Facyson and Stephon Gilmore, and they also signed safety Rodney McLeod. Now, the Matt Ryan signing, yes, he should be very good. Coming into an upgraded situation, the offensive line is not what it once was in Indianapolis, but they still have a good interior. Quentin Nelson is one of the best offensive linemen, not just guards, but offensive linemen in the league. Dennis Kelly should do all right at tackle. And then they also have Braden Smith at the right tackle spot. So they should be good offensive line-wise. They have one of the best running backs in the league in Jonathan Taylor. Wide receivers, Michael Pittman. They have Alec Pierce, the rookie. And then they also have a guy in Paris Campbell who has been injured for most of his career. But word out of Indy is that he is doing very well in the preseason and training camp. To look out for that. But yeah, Matt Ryan, I think, is a great addition for Indianapolis. They've needed that steady presence, as Logan kind of alluded to earlier. And I think they're going to get that. Matt Ryan is kind of as consistent as they come. He's just very mental about the game and is going to go into a nice situation where he can run the Shanahan style offense. It's not a Shanahan style offense, obviously, under head coach Frank Reich, but they're going to be able to run a lot of the play action stuff and RPOs with him. Unique Ngakoue, that was a steal, I think, for the Colts, trading a player for player, Rock Yassin for Unique Ngakoue. They needed upgrades at the defensive end position, opposite of Kwity Paye, and Ngakoue is a guy that has produced at every situation he's been in, whether that be with the Jags or the Raiders. So I think he's going to have another productive season in Indianapolis this year. Stephon Gilmore is a former Defensive Player of the Year award winner. Didn't do that great in Carolina last year coming off of injury, but hopefully he's healthy this year and should do wonders for their secondary opposite of Kenny Moore. And then McLeod is a guy I know well, being with the Eagles for many seasons. Should do nicely for them. I don't know how much he has left in the tank, though. Losses wise, they traded away quarterback Carson Wentz. They also lost running back Marlon Mack, wide receivers T.Y. Hilton and Zach Pascal. Tight end Jack Doyle retired. They lost offensive tackles Julian Davenport and Eric Fisher. Guard Mark Lewinsky. Guard Chris Reed. Defensive ends Alkaneen Muhammad and Kamoko Toure. Defensive tackle Antoine Woods. Corners TJ Carey, Xavier Rhodes, and Rock Yassin. They traded away Rock Yassin. They also lost safeties Jaleel Adai, George Odom, Anderson Dejo, and Kari Willis retired. And they also lost kicker Michael Badgley. So I think out of all those players, I think the guy they're going to miss the most is going to be Mark Lewinsky. Very big presence on their line, great interior backup for them, and starter at times when Quentin Nelson was injured and their other guards were hurt. But I think Glow was also a Hard Knock star as well. I think he's going to be missed on that offensive line, but I think they'll be all right. Colts, I have them winning the division. Like I said earlier, I agree with Logan. 10-7 for me, 3-3 in the division, though. They split all three of their season series with the Texans, Jags, and Titans. Starting off, I have the Colts starting off 0-3. Very slow start for Matt Ryan and the Colts. They lose in Houston. They lose in Jacksonville. And then they lose at home against the Chiefs. They probably won't start 0-3. They'll probably win at least one of those games. But that's how I have it shaking out right now, anyways. They get their first win week 4 at home against the Titans. They win at the Broncos on Thursday Night Football. I really like that matchup there. They beat the Jags at home week 6. They lose in Tennessee week 7. Week 8, they are hosting the Commanders, and that is a win. They go to New England they beat the Patriots in New England. I think the Colts are a better team right now than the Patriots are. They lose in Vegas. They beat the Eagles at home. They beat the Steelers at home on Monday Night Football. They lose at Dallas on Sunday Night Football. They have a late bye, week 14. They beat the Vikings in Minnesota. They lose at home to the Chargers on Monday night. They win at the Giants week 17, and they win at home against the Texans week 18. A lot of games start on the Colts schedule weeks 1 through 5. So the shockers are the losses out of the gate at the Texans, at the Jags. I think they're definitely going to lose in Jacksonville again. They haven't won there in a very long time. I think it continues again today or this season. The Texans won week 1 is just a homer pick for me. I just love Davis Mills, and I think Texans are going to get it done at home week 1. Week 3 and 4, that's a loss at home to the Chiefs, win at home against the Titans. Massive games right there against playoff caliber squads. The Chiefs are one that I think they could win. It's in Indianapolis, and I could see a scenario where the Colts get that win right there. The Titans, I said it in the Titans section of the divisional preview. I think the Titans Colts games should be electric and should be very tight on both of their season series this year. Week 5 at the Broncos. That is a primetime Thursday night game. I have them winning that one. I just think the Colts can withstand Russell Wilson. Their defense is going to be very good. And I think Matt Ryan and the running game of Jonathan Taylor will be able to pound the Broncos and get that done in Denver. Week 7 at the Titans. Again, should be close game. Should be very watchable and competitive there. At the Patriots, week 9, I have starred. The Patriots are a team that are kind of on the cusp, sitting at right on that outside looking in playoff situation in my mind anyways. I have them winning that one in New England. I have the Colts winning that in New England. And yeah, I just think the Colts overall are a better team. There's been a lot of talk about the struggles of the offense in the preseason. We don't even know who's going to be calling the offensive plays for New England this season yet. So a lot of issues with the offense there. I think the defense will be fine for the Patriots, but I think the Colts can get it done in New England. At the Raiders, weeks 10 through 13, I have starred here. At the Raiders is a loss. Home against the Eagles is a win. Home against the Steelers on Monday night is a win. And then at the Cowboys is a loss before their bye. The Raiders, I think that's a tough trip to go out to Vegas. I don't think the secondary is going to hold up enough against Devontae Adams and co. So give me Hunter Renfrow there and the Raiders. I think Hunter Renfrow is going to have a good day against the slot corner Brandon Facyson or Isaiah Rodgers, whichever one it is. The Eagles and the Steelers wins. Yeah, I've been high on the Eagles. I think I had them beating the other 3 teams in the division this year. But I think the Colts, having that at home, having Frank Reich be the former offensive coordinator for Philly when they won the Super Bowl, I think the Colts can get the Eagles in Indianapolis there. The Steelers game, week 12, that's a Monday night game. Again, the Steelers are a team that I think are going to be on the cusp of making the playoffs. Maybe they don't, maybe they do. But I think the Colts can get them week 12 there, and just a little bit better of a team right now than the Steelers are. And then week 13, Sunday Night Football at the Cowboys. That's a loss. Traveling down to Dallas, not that far of a trip. But I think the Cowboys are gonna be good against the Colts defense. The defensive secondary, again, while the Cowboys lost a lot receiving wise this offseason, CeeDee Lamb should have a nice day. And Dalton Schultz. I think Dalton Schultz, even though Shaquille Leonard is going to cover him a lot, I think Schultz could have a good day. And Pollard out of the backfield, I think, will have a nice day as well. Weeks 15 and 16, the other two games I have started at the Vikings. That is one that I struggled with. I was going to give them a loss, but in terms of me picking the Colts as the division winner, that had to have been a win. Could definitely see that being a loss, though, in Minnesota. The Vikings, I think, are a team that is going to be on the cusp of the playoffs in the NFC. So I could see a situation where the Vikings beat the Colts at home. And then the loss at home against the Chargers, Monday Night Football. The Chargers are one of my favorite teams this year. Justin Herbert's going to win MVP. Fantasy wise, Matt Ryan at quarterback. A lot of hype around Matt Ryan, Matty Ice this year. I am not one of those hype people around him. I think he's going to be consistent. He's going to be a guy that is going to be good for you. You can take him as your backup quarterback, and he will be very solid for you if your first guy gets injured or isn't playing well, etc. Running backs, Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines. Jonathan Taylor is the number one consensus player on everyone's board. He will be taken first overall in most drafts. So if you're not first overall, you don't even need to listen to this because you're not going to get him. So, but he's a guy that I think is going to regress a little bit. Obviously, he had a monster season last year. With an upgrade at quarterback, I think they're going to be more efficient passing the ball, which might actually lead to more production from Jonathan Taylor now that the boxes won't be stacked against him many times. So, yeah, maybe Jonathan Taylor has an even better season, which would be crazy. But I think he's going to regress a little bit, especially the touchdowns. Touchdowns are a regression to the mean thing almost every single year, whether that's going up towards the mean or down towards the mean. Nyheim Hines is a guy that is a PPR stud. They have said that they want to get Nyheim Hines more touches this year to take more of a load off of Jonathan Taylor, which plays into my regression for Taylor this year. But Nyheim Hines is a guy that I think might end up like J.D. McKissick. J.D. McKissick in Washington is a guy that you can draft and feel comfortable starting in your flex position. And Nyheim Hines might end up being that kind of guy this year. So possible. Look at him as your RB3 or 4, more comfortable as an RB4 and possible flex play. Wide receivers, Michael Pittman Jr., Paris Campbell. Love Michael Pittman. Loved him last year coming out. With the new quarterback, he should have a great season this year. So definitely draft Michael Pittman. You can probably get him in the third round of your drafts, maybe as your wide receiver 1, if you do a 2 RB strategy like I like to do, or as your wide receiver 2 if you're drafting a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds. Paris Campbell, look, I said it before. Paris Campbell's a guy that has been injured for the majority of his first couple of seasons in the league. He was a guy I was very high on when he came out in 2019, I believe. Yes, 2019 second round selection at Ohio State. Guy I really liked coming out, but has been injured all 3 seasons of his career so far. Hoping he puts it together year 4. I have high hopes for him. He's the number 2 right now. Definitely draftable as a wide receiver 3, I think. I would feel comfortable with him as that right now. Tight end Mo Alley Cox. I think he's right there when it comes to starting tight ends. I'd feel more comfortable with him as a backup. Matt Ryan has used his tight ends historically. He likes to use the tight ends. We saw him utilize Tony Gonzalez with a lot of success, as well as Austin Hooper parlayed his monster season into a contract with the Browns. So maybe Mo Alley Cox has a sneaky value, but I would feel more comfortable as a backup than a starter. The Colts defense, draft them. I think they're going to be very good. Depth is lacking in a couple spots. The linebackers, there is not a lot there. And there is not a lot at defensive tackle either, I think. So that is the only skepticism I have for the Colts defense, but I think they're going to be a top 10 unit if they stay healthy. Shaquille Leonard is one of the best linebackers in the league, and he's being paid as such. DeForest Buckner is one of the best defensive tackles in the league, maybe even the second, as high as the second best behind Aaron Donald. So definitely draft the Colts defense, start them. And then kicker, Rodrigo Blankenship. Rigo, love glasses. Coming off an injury-plagued season last year, kicker Michael Badgley was with the team most of the year. But I have high hopes for Rigo. Great season as a rookie in 2020. Not great last year with the injuries, like I said. But I'm hoping for a bounce-back campaign, and I think he should be good to go. You can draft him and feel comfortable starting him in a good offense. Rookies, wide receiver Alec Pierce. Love Alec Pierce, second-round pick out of Cincinnati this year. Should be good for them. Slated as wide receiver 3 right now. You're going to draft him in the second round of your rookie drafts. And then redraft-wise, I would definitely draft him, a high upside guy with Matt Ryan at quarterback. Should be good. Tight end Jelani Woods. He's another interesting prospect here. Slated as the third tight end right now. A lot of hype coming out of Virginia for him. As the Colts' third-round pick this year, 73rd overall. I like him. He was a height, speed guy at the combine, put up gaudy numbers there. So, yeah, draft him if you need a tight end, a third tight end or something in Dynasty, you can get him there. I don't think he has much value in redraft leagues this year, but Dynasty is where I like Jelani Woods a lot. So, that is how I have it. Colts winning the division 10-7. Titans in second place at 9-8, and the Texans and Jags finishing tied at 5-12. So to finish up here, the American Athletic Conference season preview. This is how I see it stacking, finishing this year. Cincinnati repeats as American champions. Losing Desmond Ridder hurts. Losing Jerome Ford, Kobe Bryant, Sauce Gardner as well. I think Luke Fickell is just that good of a coach that they can repeat as conference champs. So Cincinnati is my pick to win the AAC. Houston in second. I like Clayton Tune a lot. Alton McCaskill returns at running back. I feel comfortable with the Cougars. They're the second. They're the other ranked team in the preseason poll for the American to go along with Cincinnati. So Houston is a team I really like the skill position players. Clayton Tune just has to limit the mistakes, which he did a nice job of last year. He had a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. And they also return their number one wide receiver, Nathaniel Dell, who had 90 receptions for 1,329 yards and 12 touchdowns last season. They're my second place. UCF comes in for me at third. No Dylan Gabriel transferred to Oklahoma. I think they're going to be okay, though. Mikey Keene showcased last year when Gabriel was injured that he could be a serviceable starter. 1,730 yards, 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. In How many games did he play? In 11 games. Couple of those games he did not start. Two of them, I believe, he did not start and had very low yardage totals there. But I think it's a guy, he was a freshman last year. He's coming into a sophomore season. So I think it's a guy that can grow. They return Isaiah Bowser, Johnny Richardson at running back. Those guys both ran for over 700 yards last year. And a guy I love, a receiver, Ryan O'Keefe, going into his senior season, should have a monster year, 800 yards last year. Memphis comes in for me at 4th. Look, they have a lot of potential young trio of skill players. Starting out with the quarterback, Seth Hennigan, should be very nice in his sophomore season. Guy that struggled a little bit last year, but still 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, over 3,000 passing yards. I think he'll be good in his second season as a starter. Brandon Thomas returns at running back as a sophomore, should be good, had over 650 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns last year. They lost Calvin Austin, but they returned Sean Dykes at tight end, 650 plus receiving yards last year, 7 touchdowns. Should be one of the top options for Seth Hennigan. SMU is number 5. Look, they could be a lot higher, I think. They could move up to 3rd or 2nd with a good season. But they have a lot of skill guys that have to prove it. Tanner Mordecai is fantastic. I mean, he kept leading the country in touchdowns last year early on in the season, had a couple 5-touchdown games, but ended up tied for 5th, 39-12 touchdown interception ratio, over 3,600 passing yards. But I really like Tanner Mordecai. Trey Siggers returns at running back, over 700 yards rushing last year, 9 touchdowns. Unfortunately for them, Ulysses Bentley transferred to Ole Miss, so Siggers is going to have to take up more of a workload, or some of their other guys behind him. Look, they lost Danny Gray to the draft, but they do have Rashee Rice coming back, over 650 receiving yards last year. Reggie Roberson is also in the NFL. So is tight end Grant Calcaterra. So they have a lot of new faces coming in around Rashee Rice. Gonna have to prove that their playmakers can do it and help Tanner Mordecai out. If they can do that, like I said, I think they could finish 2nd or 3rd even. The Tulane Mean Green Wave here. I have them finishing 6th. Michael Pratt returns at quarterback. I'm a fan of his. They have Tajay Spears returning at running back as well, and Cameron Carroll. So should be good there. The issue that I have is, even though Tyreek James and Shea Wyatt return as pass catchers, tight end, wide receiver, respectively, Michael Pratt only had 2,381 passing yards last year, 21 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, so pretty good ratio. But the lack of significant yardage total kind of derailed him for me. So I have Tulane finishing 6th, though. I like their team overall. Tulsa is 7th. Davis Brin comes back at quarterback. Guy that has the potential to put up monster numbers. 3,254 yards to be exact, 18 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. So very bad touchdown interception ratio there. Needs to work on that. More touchdowns, less interceptions, a lot less interceptions. Shamari Brooks is not with the team anymore. He graduated, so he is gone. But they do have Anthony Watkins returning, had over 600 rushing yards last year and 4 touchdowns. Josh Johnson is in the league. They get back Juan Carlos Santana this year. I really like him. He's one of my favorite guys in college football there. But yeah, Davis Brin, too many interceptions. If he can work that out, maybe they can move up the standings. ECU, East Carolina, is my 7th place team here, or my 8th place team, I should say, out of 11. Look, ECU is a team that has a lot of potential. Holton Ahlers threw for over 3,000 yards last year, but again, kind of like Davis Brin, 18 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, not a great ratio. The 10 interceptions isn't too bad, but you'd like to have more than 18 passing touchdowns there. And they return a lot of guys. Keaton Mitchell ran for 1,100 plus yards and 9 touchdowns last year on 174 carries. Great returner for them. They lost their leading receiver, Tyler Snead, to the NFL. They do have CJ Johnson and Audi Matosho is gone, but CJ Johnson returns there, over 500 receiving yards. If Holton Ahlers can get more consistent and be more prolific in the red zone as a passer, I think that ECU could be a sleeper pick in the American. Navy comes in 9th place for me. They return some guys as well. Quarterback Ty Lavatai, love the name. Pretty good passer for Navy. 449 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Obviously with the triple option, but yeah, Lavatai back. Isaac Ruos is not back. He graduated. So did Carlinos Achi, but I believe they get back. No, they do not. Chance Warren. So yeah, there's a lot of guys that are new. Gonna be new anyways, running the ball in the triple option. James Harris also gone. They do return Xavier Arline at quarterback as well. But got to break in a lot of new running backs, it seems, for Navy. And they also looks like have some new wide receivers as well. So yeah, a lot of unknowns with Navy. Maybe they even fall further into the 10th or 11th spot, but hoping Lavatai can get it done for them this year. USF, they returned some guys. Not very good production last year, but Timmy McLean returns at quarterback, just under 1,890 yards. Very poor touchdown interceptions, 5 touchdowns, 7 picks last year. A guy I'm excited about returning, Jaron Mangum, 671 rushing yards, 15 rushing touchdowns last year. Crazy number for him on a pretty bad USF team. And then Xavier Weaver returns for his junior year, 715 receiving yards last year, 2 touchdowns. Like I said, it's tough when your quarterback only throws 5. And between 3 quarterbacks last year, the Bulls only threw 7, or they only threw 6 total touchdowns between 3 quarterbacks. So Timmy McLean's got to be the key here for USF. And if they can unlock him, Johnny Mangum could have a great season, and Xavier Weaver and the other receivers as well. Temple is my last place team in the American. And look, Dwayne Mathis, sorry, bud. We saw you at Georgia. You weren't good. We saw you at Temple, and you weren't good either. 1,223 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 4 picks last year. Not going to get it done. The backup quarterback luckily for Dwayne, transferred to Northern Illinois, so he doesn't have him breathing down his throat. But look, Edward Sadie returns at running back, 321 rushing yards last year, 3 touchdowns. Not great at all. And then their number 1 receiver, returns as well. Randall Jones is gone. Jose Barbin is their leading receiver, returning 40 receptions, 440 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They just don't have the talent at Temple right now to compete in the American. So Temple is my last place finishing team. Cincinnati, Houston, that's your American Athletic Conference championship game. Cincinnati, the Bearcats win it again this year. Next Friday, we will be back preseason week 3 preview. We'll be talking NFC East mega college football season preview, because next Friday we will be one sleep away from college football week 0. Some really good games to look forward to on August 27th. Look, we got Nebraska, Northwestern, Wyoming, Illinois, I think should be okay. Charlotte FAU, I think, has sneaky potential to be good. And then we have Vanderbilt, Hawaii as well, North Texas, UTEP, and UConn, Utah State. Those are the FBS matchups. Oh, Nevada, New Mexico State as well, FBS versus FBS matchup. So that's your week 0 slate on next Saturday. But we might not do the NFC East preview. We got a couple more. We have one more week after that to preview the NFL. So we might wait on that one till the Monday show following preseason week 3. But we will let you know. Mega college football season preview. We'll be talking Big 10, Big 12, Conference USA, Independence, MAC, Mountain West, Pac-12, SEC, and the Fun Belt, which should be very good this year, I think. Anyways, that is the show for today. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Logan, for coming on. And don't forget to follow us on all our social media. At FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. FAApodcast.com is our FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Also, don't forget to check out our betting account at FAA_bets. We will be cranking that up when week 1 hits, cranking out football play, NFL plays, college plays every weekend. So thank you all for watching.